Alrighty guys, today is session 3 of Granny Torrelli Makes Soup. As always, please make sure that you have your stop and jot paper in front of you, so if you do not, pause the video, get that, and make sure you are prepared to also think about your own thoughts as we read this book. Last place we left off was Granny Torrelli came back in from her pause, that might have been a bit too long, after Bailey asked Rosie if she's jealous, which I think is a good point to bring up because we've even been noticing that behavior, especially with Rosie's tiger self coming up. So Rosie's definitely jealous at this point. And even when Bailey gave the answer back and Rosie said, well, do I have a reason to be jealous? And he's like, no, I don't think so. That made her not happy even more. But of course, Granny Torrelli swooped in and somewhat solve the problem just by having them work together and make the pasta. So we're continuing in the book. We're on sauce. All the cavatelli are spread out on the floured board where they will dry. Granny Torrelli says, "Bene, bene, now it's sauce time." And she has her nose in the refrigerator and is pulling out spare ribs and ground beef and eggs and garlic and onions and tomatoes. From the cupboard she snatches salt and pepper and oregano and bay leaves and olive oil. "I am the director," she says. "Let's get this production moving." Granny dribbles olive oil in the big red pot, while Bailey and I chop onions and garlic, and then we toss them in the pot. And what a smell in the kitchen. What a good, good smell. "Spare ribs," Granny directs, and Bailey plunks the spare ribs in the pot where they sizzled. "Tomatoes, chopped," Granny says. And so we chop all the tomatoes, while Granny opens the wee can of tomato paste, the thick, red, sticky paste that will go in the pot with the tomatoes. As the spare ribs are browning, I can't help it. I say, "So whatever happened to Violetta?" "Puh," Granny Torrelli says, settling herself on the chair and sniffing the good smells in the kitchen. I need to stop and jot because to me this is bringing back so many memories of my own granny and all of the yummy foods she would make. So that is page 117 that I'm getting. 117. Sharon Creeches is making me smell my own granny's cooking. I think it's amazing how authors have that ability to bring back memories and smells even when they're not there. Here is the good thing that happened. Marco. So we have a new character now too. "Who's Marco?" Bailey says. Granny Torrelli grins a little girl grin, full of mischief. "Very cute boy. Comes to stay with his grandmother next door to me. Very smart boy too, and molto charming." Granny smiles at the ceiling as if Marco, the cute, smart, charming boy, is floating up there. So we have to stop and jot again for page 117 because we have a new character and we know that when we have characters we need to keep track of them. So page 117 is Marco, M-A-R-C-O. He is the cute, smart, charming boy next door. So what does Marco have to do with Violetta? I ask. Ah, says Granny Torrelli. Everything. She waves her hand at the tomatoes. Tomatoes, in the pot, she directs. We obey. Stir. Tomato paste, 2 cans of water. Stir. Now, where were we, she says. Marco, Bailey says. Ah, si, Marco. So Marco comes to stay next door, and Marco finds me very enchanting. Really, that is the word he used, enchanting. It's different in Italian, but you understand what I'm saying. I am enchanting. That Granny Torrelli, she makes me laugh. She makes Bailey laugh too. So Marco is at my house day and night, hanging around like a sick donkey. Please will I come out and walk with him? Please will I come for dinner? Please, please, please. Bailey's head is tilted upwards again. His thinking pose. I need to stop for a minute because I'm wondering who Marco is. We know Violetta is Janine in this story. We know that Granny Torrelli is Rosie in this story. And we know that Pardo is Bailey, but who is Marco supposed to be? I also want to make note that on page 119, it says that Granny Torrelli makes me laugh, and she makes Bailey laugh too. I think that that's going to be good evidence later for our claims. 119, GT makes them laugh. I think that's going to be good evidence later for our claim chart about that Granny Torrelli is a problem solver. Granny Torrelli flicks her fingers at the red pot, bubbling with all the good smells. Bay leaf, oregano, 2 pinches. Salt, 3 pinches. Pepper, lots. We toss it all in and stir. Bailey says, "And what did Pardo think of Marco?" Granny Torrelli claps her hands together. Pardo hated him. He couldn't stand the sight of him. I'm trying to picture it. There is a little play going on in my head. There is Pardo swooning over Violetta, and Granny Torrelli monster cutting Violetta's hair, and Violetta ending up looking like a movie star, and then Marco moving in and swooning over my Granny Torrelli, and Pardo hating Marco. Bailey is nodding. I get it, he says. The shoe is on the other foot now, right? Yes, how they say, bullseye. You hit a bullseye, Bailey boy. At first, I do not get it, though, Granny Torrelli says. At first, I think, why is my life such a mess? Why did Violetta have to come and steal Pardo's heart? And why did this Marco boy have to come and be such a nuisance? And when she says that, I'm thinking, Why did that Janine girl have to come? Why? And I am wanting to hear more, but Granny Torrelli says, stop! Meatballs. She pushes a bowl in front of Bailey and motions for me to get the ground meat and eggs and salt and onions. And soon we are mushing our hands in the meat mush, squishing it and squeezing it. The garlic, onions, spare ribs, bay leaf, oregano, tomatoes are swirling in the big pot. And all the smells are wrapping around us, and I am dizzy with it, with the smells and the squished meat and the play going on in my head. And I want to know everything. What happened with Violetta and Pardo and Marco and Granny Torrelli? And what will happen with me and Bailey and Janine? And why is there no Marco who finds me enchanting? That's a good question. I think that also is connecting to our question of who is Marco supposed to be. I'm going to connect that on page 121, drawing an arrow down. Page 121. Where is my Marco? Rosie wants to know. So that also, I think, could be evidence for that Rosie is a complicated character with good intentions, because here she is, like, she sees what's happening. She's like, I want that to happen. Maybe this will help solve it. The yellow house. Actually, let's leave off there for now, in fact. I think that is a good stopping point for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow with the rest of the book.